I'm delighted at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. I mean, the tires as well.
We haven't really talked about Max Verstappen too much, and Red Bull have been struggling since the summer break.
That's why.
Yeah, they've only been on the podium once, of course, which was in Singapore, and even that podium was a little bit lucky with Mercedes' strategy. They can kind of thank them for that. But I was reading this article earlier today, and we could post this up for you guys to see as well, that Jos and Max Verstappen, they're very concerned by the form of Red Bull. And like we mentioned, they haven't had really good form since the summer break. And we remember before the summer break, it was all about Red Bull and Mercedes. Red Bull had wins in Germany, wins in Austria. Even in Hungary, they could have had the win. They had a pole position. And then all of a sudden after, they've been really nowhere with the pace.
It's kind of in a where's Wallow right now for Red Bull and keeping quiet of things. And again, it will be really interesting in the races further. Japan, depending on the new engine and how that works out, of course, Honda will be ramping up to make sure they can get a podium at their home Grand Prix. But I think their next best shot is going to be Brazil. I know Max has done very well in the US, but we've seen him dominate at Brazil and do so well at Brazil, and Red Bull's car is more suited for that San Paulo track. And
Mexico as well.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Mexico too.
Those two.
I don't think it's going to matter at this point. For what we saw in this last Russian Grand Prix, the Red Bulls were almost a full second behind the Mercedes and the Ferrari.
Did they say they got the setup wrong again?
No, they didn't say anything like that. And just reading a quote from Jos, Max's father, he says, "It's very frustrating. The last few races before the summer break, it went really well, but after the summer break, we did not progress while the other teams did."
Yeah, and they just got engine upgrades.
Yeah, and
two in the last three races too. So to see no advantage made by Red Bull is kind of disappointing.
And not just the engine too, but also the car. And Jos Verstappen goes on to say, looking at the last couple of races, it seems that we will be half a second short in Japan. So even in Japan, when they're gearing up all these engine penalties, that's a big margin to be half a second behind. So it's interesting because they said that they just really haven't made any progress yet. And Red Bull, usually their car evolution through the last couple ends of the season are really good. So this is interesting with the whole situation with Max Verstappen and Red Bull, because I know we talked about this a long time ago about Max potentially looking at other teams and stuff like that. And obviously 2019 has been a lost year for them because they really haven't challenged for the championship. And this is what Jos Verstappen is talking about. Listen, Red Bull is going to need to really figure this stuff out because 2020 is just going to be the same.
Yeah, and we don't want that. We want to see improvements, Red Bull. We want to see more of a push for, to face both Mercedes and Ferrari.
Okay, it's really a guess who right now. I mean, if they are a half second behind, where are they losing that time? Because they have the chassis and the aero to comply. Or is that half second going to be on the straights, or is that Honda engine going to be maybe a bit better than what we thought it's going to be? And the half second they thought is actually 0.2, maybe 0.1, and they can make that up in certain spots of the race with setups.
It just surprises me because even in parts of the track where you think that they're going to excel, like in the low speed corners, they're even now losing out to Ferrari.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw Max in Sector 3 in qualifying really wasn't making up too much time on both Ferraris or even the Mercedeses. And if Jos Verstappen, if what he says is true about being a half second behind in Japan, Japan's not really a power circuit. It's all about high load high load corners where you need a good front end. And the Red Bull, that's been one of the marquees of having a really strong front end. So there's not much straight. I mean, you have the back straight in Japan, which is a big factor, but with a Spec 4 Honda engine, you would expect that to be a little bit better. So I really think that why I found this article was interesting was because we were kind of praising Red Bull and Verstappen when they went on a great run in the middle of the summer. But always keep in mind that I think Verstappen holds the keys in that team.
Yeah.
And he'll walk away if he doesn't feel like he'll have a world championship car. And think about this on the Mercedes side of things. Maybe that was one of the reasons why they let Ocon go, because they leave the door open for Max in 2021 possibly.